Hello again. I'm happy to see my hard work is finally paying off. For a while I've spent hours, sometimes days, making videos that nobody would watch, so thank you to everyone who started paying attention to me. But you don't care about me. I know why you're here, and I'm not going to keep you waiting any longer. So in Pizza Tower there are two, well, technically three playable characters. You got Pepino Spaghetti, and Gustavo, and Brick the Rat. Who names a rat Brick? But did y'all know there were more? Who am I shitting? Of course y'all knew that. Yeah, there were four scrapped playable characters, and I'll be covering them in order from least to most important, well, in my opinion. So without further ado, let's begin. Well, the thumbnail kinda gave it away, but I'm still just as shocked as you are. I was able to find footage of this. I'm probably going to be stealing it from another YouTuber. I'm sorry. I'll make sure to put credit in the description. I'm almost certain Peppermen was always intended to be a boss fight. But I guess whoever programmed him quickly realized it was super obscure and stopped pretty early on, because he's absurdly buggy in his current state and other mods. I don't know much about Peppermen as a playable character, so I'm going to move on. If someone else knows what the deal with that is, feel free to tell me in the comments. This is much less surprising, but not everybody knows about him. He first appeared in the 2019 Sage demo. You would unlock him after completing Snick's challenge, a marathon of all three Sage levels. He wasn't much different from Pepino in terms of movement. I mean, he was faster, I guess. He was able to build up speed pretty faster. You didn't even have to hold down the run button. You could hold down the run button, and then you could gain a bunch of speed in place. And, he's meant to reference Sonic, so if you get hit, he loses all of his points. If you get hit after that, he dies. Oh yeah, the toppings have all been replaced with bagels or onion rings. And the end goal is, instead of sound that flips around, sort of a thing to reference Sonic. Oh, and before anybody else gets mad that I didn't mention it, I'm aware Pepino's leading nightmare exists. For anybody who doesn't know about that, that was a mod of the Sage demo that gives Snick a much more creepypasta-esque role. As for Snick himself, he's only seen in the final game like twice as obscure Easter eggs. A lot of people who enjoyed Snick weren't very happy with how little screen time he was given. However, I think it's important to be grateful he was in the final game at all, even if he ain't playable or doesn't play a significant role in the story. Oh, now this one was interesting. He was another character who could die. He had a health bar that started at 100 you could refill by collecting toppings, and just like the final game, he sports a revolver and a bottomless supply of dynamite, which he could use to blast jump with. He couldn't utilize transformation, super jump, or break metal blocks by ramming into him. Well, I mean, that makes sense because he's a freaking blob of cheese. McPig originally said Vigilante. Vigilante. Is it Vigilante or Vigilante, or does it not matter? Moving on. Yeah, he was meant to be a hard mode, but having the ability to shoot enemies from any range wouldn't make him very difficult to play. He fits a lot more as a boss fight, especially for the second floor being Western themed. Okay, alright, I've heard it several times. I know they plan on bringing him back as a playable character, which makes him happy because he is hands down my favorite of all the Pizza Tower characters. But I'm going to cover him anyway, because this is about scrapped content, and oh boy, the noise has a lot of scrapped mechanics. In the April Fool's demo, he had a cape glide ability that looked very similar to that of Super Mario World. I ain't 100% sure how that was supposed to help in that build, since the movement in that was a lot clunkier, probably to emulate an actual cartoon almost. It would definitely fit the movement of the final game, though. He could also ride a freaking washing machine like a bull, which you could use to break metal blocks. The more recent versions we've seen of Noise go into two categories: skateboard noise and pogo noise. Skateboard noise functions almost identically to Pepino. He was first featured in Noise's Halloween, a Halloween version of the stage demo, which is also where Pizza Scare originated, and it's also where we see Snick's, the Snick sprite that made it into the final game. You know, he came back as a ghost. Noise also had a dab taunt that could be triggered with an analog stick. I don't know, I thought that was funny. Pogo Noise is what I'm hoping he gets brought back as. This version of the Noise changes up his moveset into something more original. Instead of building up momentum through running or skateboarding, he would use a pogo stick to build up speed, and once you had enough, you could fly forward at Mach 3 with the jetpack. Or, you know, you could do a super jump. I'm okay. This moveset was a bit busted though, since it was pretty easy to maintain his speed. In addition to that, his grab was changed to a spin dash attack, which, that's cool, I guess. He also sports a wall and double jump. Both of those seem to be reused for Gustavo a little bit. He also had two moves where he could chuck those bombs he throws at you during the fight. Honestly, that aside though, what made Noise such a great playable character for me is how vastly he contrasts to Pepino. It's almost as if Pepino and the Noise are meant to represent two types of Pizza Tower players. Pepino is someone who doesn't understand a whole lot, still learning and getting freaked out by how freaking chaotic and overwhelming this childish ADHD nightmare of a game is at first. Whereas the Noise represents those who are more experienced. They understand and enjoy the insanity, which perfectly fits with Noise's psychotic nature. It also adds to the rivalry these two have and makes co-op a lot more entertaining. I'm still quite sad he isn't playable in the vanilla game currently, but I suppose having him be playable doesn't exactly fit in with the story, which is meant to revolve around Pepino fighting for his business. I am, however, very glad he was still given a lot of screen time because he absolutely deserves it. I don't care what anyone else says, I love him so much. Okay, that was a lot to take in, wasn't it? Before I end the video, you may have noticed, hey, wait a minute. 3 of these 4 playable characters were bosses in the final game. What about fake Pepino? Well, fake Pepino was never playable to my knowledge. But he wasn't completely absent either. In early builds like the April Fools and Golf builds, he would chase you around during the escape sequence. This was also back when Pizza Tower had a health bar, so I guess having another external threat for added pressure wasn't a terrible idea. They did do him a lot of justice in the final game by making him a boss fight. He was always a bit too freaky looking to be a playable character in my personal opinion. Alright, so to close things off, these guys were pretty cool ideas, but in the end, I'm glad we were mostly stuck with Pepino. Gustavo was interesting. I'm not 100% sure why he's a playable character, but he is. But you could ask the same question about the other guys, so I guess it's not right to question that. Anyway, thanks for watching, and let me know what you'd like covered next, assuming this video is going to get a lot of attention.